if you research like dating tips for women, you get two pieces of information right away. And the first is to make yourself as appealing as possible to as many men as possible. And the second is to like be open-minded and give everyone the benefit of the doubt and grant people grace. Okay, I think those two pieces of advice are the most destructive and counterproductive and time-wasting and misogynistic and exploitative pieces of advice that women could possibly be given. And I think women should do the exact opposite.
Welcome to the Divorce Survival Guide podcast, where we have open and honest conversations about co-parenting, separation, divorce, and the hardest question of all, should you stay or should you go? I'm Kate Anthony, your divorce survival guide, and I'm here to help you navigate some of the roughest waters you've ever swum in and answer some of your toughest questions. I've been to hell and back, and now it's my mission in life to help you get to the other side of this process with your sanity and your heart intact. Hey everyone, welcome back. Okay, so I know I say this all the time, but I'm super stoked about today's episode and sharing it with you. This week's guest, Jennie Young, has changed my life. And I don't mean that or say that in any way hyperbolically. Jennie is the creator of the Burned Haystack Dating Method. She is a professor of rhetoric. The Burned Haystack Dating Method is a method grounded in applied rhetoric and feminist praxis. So you know that this is up my alley. Jennie has a Ph.D. in rhetoric and discourse studies. She's a genius. She's a genius. If you don't follow her on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, if you're not in her Facebook group, get there now. The reason that I say that Jennie changed my life is that after doing this interview a while ago, which was preceded by my interview with Alyssa Deneen, Style My Profile, who was on the show a few weeks back. Between the two of them, they convinced me to get back online, start dating again, and employing both of their methods with Alyssa sort of setting up my profile and the parameters and everything, and then following the Burned Haystack method, which you'll hear about today. I have met the most incredible and beautiful man I've ever dreamt possible. And you may have seen us on Instagram because I posted about him a while ago. I'm deliriously in love. I literally never knew that I could feel the way that I feel about him or that somebody could love me the way that this man loves me. Literally didn't know it was possible. And I really, really, really attribute finding this man online to Alyssa and Jennie. My gratitude cup runneth so deeply over. You guys all know that I really felt like I was going to be alone forever. And I had made peace with it. I wasn't happy about it, but I'd made peace with it because I certainly was never going to settle. Whew, Lord, this man absolutely blows me away every single day. I've always said to you that if it's not extraordinary, I don't want it. If it's not going to enhance my life, make my life exponentially better, I don't need it. And Ethan does all of those things. Literally had no idea that this was possible. So listen up if you guys are in the market for, a life-changing experience or the potential. Like, I don't know. I think the timing was also very right. And sort of there's a lot of kismet stuff with us. And by the way, Alyssa and Jennie are going to come back on the show and interview me about all of this. So we will get into the details down the line. But for now, let's talk about the Burned Haystack method of dating and how you can get around the fucking algorithms that are feeding you trash. That's what I'm talking about today on the show with the incredible Jennie Young. Jennie, thank you so much for coming on. I'm so excited about this conversation.
Oh, likewise. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's just start at the very beginning. What is the Burned Haystack Method for those who are perhaps uninitiated?
Yes. Okay. So the
Or how did
burn
you
case,
come up with it too? Like let's do
yeah.
the background.
It's been a real evolution because initially I was just trying to help myself. I was on the dating apps for the first time at age 50. And, I didn't obviously grow up in a time when dating apps even existed. I was married
Right.
through all of that, like a lot of people. And for some reason, I don't consider myself a naive person, but for some reason, I thought the dating apps would operate like kind of like the rest of life. And what I quickly realized is that they do not. Like it
No,
is
they
its
don't.
own bizarro universe. And
Yes.
I think the big epiphany for me was I tried a number of dating apps. And every time I just ended up becoming totally demoralized and quitting. I went out on a handful of very strange dates with very strange men. And I kept thinking there must be something wrong with me. Like the communicating over the messaging, function never it didn't work like anything else. And the men all seemed the same, but also terrible in a lot of ways. And I kept thinking, clearly I'm the problem here. Like if 98% of the men I'm matching with, I can't communicate with them effectively or don't understand what they want. It must be me. I must be the problem here.
Sure.
But then I thought,
Yep.
I navigate the world just fine. I teach hundreds of college students. I have lots of colleagues. I have friends and family. I don't have a problem communicating with anybody anywhere else. And people don't seem to have a problem communicating with me. So is there something interesting going on in these apps, that I should pay attention to?
Right.
And my area of academic expertise is applied rhetoric. So the study of language and linguistic forms, and by extension, images. There's visual rhetoric, there's material rhetoric, there's embodied rhetoric. So I decided to make this a really academic project for myself. I wanted a method to game the apps.
Right.
So that was how it started. The other thing I noticed was that if you research dating tips for women,
Ugh.
I know, right? Yeah. You get two pieces of information right away. And the first is to make yourself as appealing as possible to as many men as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And the second is to be open-minded and give everyone the benefit of the doubt and grant people grace. Okay, I think those two pieces of advice are the most destructive and counterproductive and time-wasting and misogynistic and exploitative pieces of advice that women could possibly be given. And I think women should do the exact opposite.
I love you so much, Jen.
Oh, thank you. I think you should try to appeal to a very narrow crowd of men. And I think you should give almost no one a chance. And I wrote some rules for myself, and I started employing those rules, and I presented myself much differently than I had been. And I got so strict about who I would engage with that I was engaging with almost no one. And it changed everything immediately. The guys I was spending time with seemed normal. And you could have a conversation with them, and they were funny and smart. And it wasn't this weird, mysterious thing. And I ended up meeting my former partner within about 5 days of implementing that.
Yeah.
And we were together for about 2.5 years, and it didn't work out for reasons that have nothing to do with the dating apps, and we remained friends. But that was the origin story of Burned Haystack. And then after I wasn't even calling it Burned Haystack at that point.
Right.
So after I licked my wounds over the ending of that relationship and was ready to try it again, I decided, okay, if I have to go through this again, it's going to be a big, well, I don't know if it would be big, but I had dreams. It's going to be a crowdsourced, feminist revolution. I'm going to invite a whole bunch of other women in and we're going to tweak it and test it together. I'm going to make it an academic project. I'm going to try to get some publications out of it. And so that's how it really kicked off as a social media project. I'm a big believer in public scholarship, like freely accessible academic content. So I wanted to do that too.
Wow. I love that. I love that you're like, if I'm going to spend this much time on this, it's going to be worth something, not just to myself, but to others. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Cause I do often feel like, I'm like, oh my God, I can't with like, I don't have time for this shit. Right?
Yeah, right. Nobody does.
Nobody has time. Nobody got time for that shit.
Or energy or tolerance,
Yeah. Right. And it's interesting because I think that I've been employing not the actual Burned Haystack method, but I've been employing that a mindset around that similar mindset. Like I don't. And I'm always questioning myself. I don't give anyone the benefit of the doubt. I'm not just like, oh, well, maybe, but I catch myself going, well, maybe let me look a little, well, maybe I should, I don't know. And then I'm like, no, I know. I am a 54-year-old woman who has been dating off and on since my divorce, almost 15 years ago. So like, I pretty much know.
We have a lot of parallels because I am about to be 54 this month. Are you class of 89?
I am a class of 89 and I turned 54 like 2 weeks ago. So
oh my gosh. Yeah.
Sisters.
So we're almost exactly the same age. And right. I've been divorced since 2012. So, and I think there's a lot of women like around our age with this kind of experience, give or take a few years or whatever. And we're all experiencing the same things.
That's right. And, the other thing that I want to highlight for people is that a lot of people, a lot of my listeners in particular are newly single or about to be single.
Yes.
And they're entering into this world and they have the same sort of naive perception of it that we did when we started.
Of course.
So if we can sort of help them bypass the bullshit.
Yes.
Because, a lot of women find themselves sort of re-victimized.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as they get out, because they're, whether they're drawn to similar things from their past or they're just don't see the red flags.
Right. Right.
That we do now as sort of like professional. You're an actual professional in this.
So are you.
Yeah, well, right.
We're coming from different angles, right? But that's what I love about like the Burned Haystack group has so many different professionals, whether it's law or we've got tons of like therapists and counselors and coaches and teachers, and there's a lot of expertise there.
Let's talk about the method. Like, what is the method? What are the rules?
And I'm going to go over, obviously like the real quick versions of the rules here. They're more like fully fleshed out in the Facebook group and then on Instagram also. Rule number 1 is the app is a tool. It's not a game and it's not a place to hang out. So it's not a form of entertainment. And I should be clear that my whole focus is women who are looking for long-term monogamous partnerships.
Right.
Not because I think that's like the best or only form of relationship, but nobody can be all things to all people. And that's what Burned Haystack is about. So everything we do, all the rules, our whole bag of tricks, we have various fancy academic terms for this, like heuristics, but all of it is aimed at finding a long-term monogamous partner.
Great.
Okay. So rule number 1, app is a tool. It's not a game or a place to hang out. So you want to think about it more like the way you would think about your toothbrush. You use your toothbrush once in the morning, once at night, maybe once in the middle of the day. What you don't do is carry your toothbrush around with you all day, like just checking on it to see how it's doing, right?
Right.
That's weird. So remember the app works for you. You don't work for the app. You're not at the app's beck and call. It's a tool and that's all it is.
Yep.
Okay, so that's rule number 1. Rule number 2 is focus on messaging because that's where the usable data is. People hire profile writers to write their profiles or to curate their profiles. They use AI, they have friends do it. It's a good first step, but once you've matched with someone, you really kind of want to see how they interact with you in real time.
Yes.
And we have a graphic we use called the messaging hierarchy. It's almost like a choose your own adventure where it's like, if he says this, go to the next level. If he does this, block. And it walks you through like really typical interactions.
Like
and
it's an infographic.
It's
basically.
an infographic.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's been really, really like popular. Every time I put it up, it gets a lot of like discussion going and shares and all that. So focus on messaging. Rule number 3, no notifications. Turn off all your notifications to your dating apps for 2 reasons. Number 1 is just better for your mental health. You don't need to be like hearing pings all day from Bumble, right? Like there's enough of that from the rest of our life. The other reason here is that you don't need to respond right away. If you need to respond within 45 seconds of, every time some dude likes you, that actually like communicates some level of desperation that you don't want. That's not like the vibe you want to put out.
Right.
if you're on a dating app. And quite frankly, if this man doesn't have the like emotional self-control or executive functioning to wait a few hours for you to respond, then he was never going to be dateable anyway. Like if he's already gone by then, like you just saved yourself. So no notifications. Rule number 4 is the most popular rule, and it's called block to burn.
Yes.
So actually, we should talk about, can we talk about the haystack metaphor?
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to, yes, absolutely. Yes. Why burned haystack? And then here we are.
So the way I came up with Burned Haystack Dating Method as the name of the project is that I was specifically looking for a metaphor because I find metaphors really helpful in my teaching, like my real life teaching at the university. There's a whole branch of cognitive linguistics called primary metaphor analysis. And it's something I've used a lot in my writing. I wrote a textbook several years ago that uses applied rhetoric, critical discourse analysis specifically, which is what I use in Burned Haystack, and primary metaphor analysis. And the textbook was about high school culture, like interrogating prison-like high school cultures. But I wanted to use those same methodologies in dating because it's just like what I know how to do. So I was looking for a metaphor. And late one night, I Google searched, how do you find a needle in a haystack? Since that's like always the cliche people go to.
Right.
And it said that if you, like in real life, the real way to do that is you set the haystack on fire and burn it to the ground because needles are metal and they don't burn. And then you'll just find your needle and you can pick it up and walk away. So the whole method is aimed at, instead of like picking through a haystack looking for a needle, you're just going to torch the haystack and then the needles will emerge. You'll find them. So that's like block to burn is in keeping with that metaphor, because of course I'm not allowed to mix metaphors. It would be like professionally irresponsible as an English professor. So that's the metaphor. But here's the pragmatic reason. All the apps recycle people. And if you just swipe left on them or X them out or whatever, you're going to see them again. Right. So you need to control the algorithm.
Right.
And you do that by blocking, which then forces the app to send you someone new who might actually be a better match. And all the apps have a way to do this that doesn't hurt the other person. Like blocking isn't the same as reporting. You don't have to.
You're not reporting them, right? You're just saying, please stop showing me the same person over and over again.
Yeah.
I have this thing where if somebody shows up like more than once, I'm like, maybe it's the universe telling me that I'm actually missing something, right? And then I look at the profile and I'm like, no.
Right. This is so like, it resonates with me because I would do the same thing.
Yeah, right. It's God. No, it's a fucking computer.
I'm not sure I believe in God, but he must be in this dating app.
He must be in this dating app. It's not an it's not a computer program.
Okay, rule number 5 is no fighting with men at all. And it is so difficult because so many of them are so horrible and they try to bait you, or it seems like just a good intellectual challenge, or, they deserve to be put in their place. But just remember that this whole method is about efficiency. So if you spend 3 seconds arguing with some guy you're not going to date, you might very likely miss a guy that you would date. He's not talking to somebody else.
Yeah. It's funny because there are people who like their entire TikTok or something is about the fights that they have with the arguments and putting men in their place on dating apps. And I always think, why? Like, what's the point? Why are we giving them this much oxygen? Move on. Like, because it's clear to me that you're not there. Maybe you're not there to actually meet someone. You're maybe there to argue with men on TikTok,
which is fine if that's your goal.
Right.
But if your goal is to find a partner, you shouldn't waste a single second.
And by the way, just FYI, they're not going to change.
No.
So it's a literally lost cause.
Totally. Like there is absolutely nothing you can do that is more a waste of your time than arguing with men on the internet.
Yeah. Period. Anywhere. Anywhere.
Right. Yeah. Or the grocery store, whatever. Yeah. Okay. Rule number 6 is don't be a pen pal. I think everyone's pretty familiar with this problem. Yeah. And I don't understand why, but there's a lot of people who just want to get on dating apps. And I've heard this is a genderless problem. Women do it too. But if you're looking for a partner and whoever you're talking to doesn't want to meet in real life, like relatively quickly, just be done because that's not going anywhere.
There are people that I think I even had a friend who told me, I did actually, a guy that I met on a dating app became a pen pal and like a phone pal. And we lived really near each other, whatever. And eventually I was like, what are we doing? Like what, Yeah. And he was like, and then he admitted to me, I think later on, like years later, that he was on the apps to make himself feel good. That was it. That was his only goal. He was not looking for a relationship. He was not looking to even date.
Or they're just bored.
He wanted his ego to be stroked.
Yes. And I think that's especially true of a lot of men who've, they've been married maybe for 20 years and they're kind of used to having. One of our rhetorical patterns is receptacles for randomness, that's how they see women. So they meet someone, on Hinge and half an hour later, they're like, just got home from work, gonna throw some steaks on the grill. And you're like,
okay,
why would I care? I don't even know who you are, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, they just need this, like, it's not even a two-way conversation. It's just like a place to put their random thoughts and feelings. Yeah.
Receptacle for randomness. I love that. Yeah. I love that. Yes. I have been there.
Yeah. It's a popular one. Okay. Rule number 7 is be careful with location sharing apps. I personally don't think it's a good idea to match with anyone who doesn't live in your dateable area. For one thing, I think it's just less likely that it's going to turn into a relationship. But I also think, like, if you live in northern Wisconsin, like I do, and there's some dude who's passing through on business from Los Angeles, his goals are probably not the same as mine. Right?
They're pretty clear.
Yeah.
Right. They're pretty clear.
He does not want to take me out because he thinks we might get married.
Right.
It's something else.
Right.
So, and I know everybody's like, but there's that one story that neither one of them had any big plans, but the universe connected them. I mean, I guess so. But again, like, you got to sort of play the odds here.
Right. Right. Exactly.
So I think you have to be really careful with location sharing apps, especially if your goal is long-term monogamy. Don't put yourself in like hookup genre.
Right. Right.
For the guy on the golf outing. Rule number 8 is get yourself out of the ludic looping, LUDIC, a video gaming pattern that's also built into the dating apps. And it works on intermittent reward systems and like dopamine hits in the brain. Right. And it's intentionally, Tinder was the first one to like code it into their app, but they all do it now. And there's like in video gaming, like there's no character development, there's no plot developed, there's no narrative arc. It just never ends. It's the infinite scroll. And
right.
It's very, like, we're all susceptible to it because we're human beings. Like, it's literally based on the circuitry of human brains. So of course we fall into it, But having an understanding of how it works and an awareness helps you be able to be like, oh yeah, I'm actually not a lab rat, so I'm going to take myself out of this now.
And so what does that look like? I mean, there's that sort of feels like it circles back to number one, which is like,
it does.
Right. Like put it down, stop scrolling.
Put it down. And also don't let yourself get into a ludic loop with a human being. That's what breadcrumbing does. You've heard that term, breadcrumbing.
Yes, of course.
That's exactly, I mean, breadcrumbing is a human designed, human centric form of a ludic loop because it gives you just enough attention to keep you engaged, but not enough to satisfy you. So your brain's like lighting up with dopamine hits and you're like connected to this person you might not even care about. You're only interested because he's, messing with your mind.
Right. Yes. Okay.
All right. So get yourself out of the ludic loop. Number 9, this is probably the most controversial rule of Burned Haystack.
Okay.
No men who can't plan the dates.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. So the counter argument, which I get, sounds like this. It's 2025 and I'm a feminist professional. I can plan the date myself. Okay, I know you can't. And I bet you've been planning every date. And when you were married, I bet you did all the planning then too. I bet you managed everybody's calendar and made every dinner reservation and made sure your kid got to every school event. We are trying to correct the labor imbalance here.
That's right.
And what we're doing is looking for rhetorical clues that someone could be a healthy partner. So we're not saying make him plan the date so that he can do all the emotional labor forever. We're saying sit back and wait it out and see if this is a person who can function at the level that you are already functioning at.
That's right. I love that. Yes.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean you have no say. Obviously, if he suggests a restaurant you hate,
sure,
maybe just somewhere else. But you want, too often, this is what happens. There's some kind of an exchange and the guy's like, hey, would you like to get together? And the woman's like, yeah, I'd love that. And then he's like, okay, let me know what you want to do. And then he's like, okay, I'm done with that one. And it happens over and over and over again.
Right. Yes.
And we're trying to even that.
That's right. And would you burn that immediately? Or would you say, why don't you plan it or something? What would you do in this method? Because I'm always like, let's give one more chance. Well, let's just guide them a little, right? And then I'm doing the emotional labor and I'm like, what am I doing?
Right. Yeah. Like at this age, I am not interested in meeting any man who can't figure out all that on his own. I just feel like you're old enough. You've had enough life experience.
You're in your 50s, dude.
Yeah. I'm not going to walk a 50-year-old man through like how to plan a date.
Okay.
And honestly, I'm not going to, if I were 20 years younger, I would also not be willing to walk a 30-year-old man through that.
Right.
I think if we're talking about adults, we have to kind of expect everybody to be on the same adult level. And there's a lot of dating coaches out there, and I'm very complicated. I think there are a few really good ones. I think there are a lot of dating coaches doing a lot of damage, particularly to women. And there's a lot of
especially the male ones. Just FYI, please don't hire a male dating coach.
Please,
you're a woman.
Yeah, right. Like, just please don't. It's so bad. But even a lot of the women dating coaches are like, here's some language to use to help, nudge him to talk to you the way you want him to. No, like if you have to do that, you're already doing all the emotional labor. You don't want to do that at all. You want to let him do exactly what he's going to do and observe it with stone cold reality-based logic.
I love it. You are validating absolutely everything. It's like I go into these things, and this is me on the apps, like on and off. Like I'll take a year break because I just fucking can't anymore.
Right.
And then I'm like, after a year, I'm like, well, I mean, he's not walking into my front door. So I guess, and if he was, maybe that would be weird. And so like, all right, I guess I got to do this again. Mm-hmm. And, my conversation with Alyssa Deneen last week, we were like, I was like, all right, okay, fine. We're going to do this again. But I go through, I sort of come up against these conversations in my head over and over again. And my impulse is to do exactly what you're saying.
Right.
And yet I'm always questioning myself because I'm like, Oh, yeah, but
Because you've been gaslit, like all women have been gaslit. And then we start gaslighting ourselves,
that's
you
right.
know?
That's right.
And a lot of Burned Haystack is about, if you've got 200,000 women calling out the same gaslighting patterns in the same forum, you start to believe those women instead of the dudes on
Yeah, and
Tim.
it takes that many of us, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many women did it take before we took down Harvey Weinstein or right, Bill
Yeah.
Cosby
I know.
or
Yeah.
right? It's like
Right.
there is a threshold. we it has to happen. It has to be
Yeah.
all of us. Ugh.
That's why the saying is believe women, not believe woman, because nobody can ever believe one woman, right? God forbid. She's probably just confused.
Right. That's what she didn't mean it. Come on.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, guys, I have to tell you about something that has seriously made my life easier. Wild Pastures. So I've been ordering from them for the last few months, and I love having high quality pasture raised meat right in my freezer, ready to go whenever I need it. No last minute grocery runs, no sketchy labels, just clean, delicious meat I can trust. If you're anything like me, short on time, but still want to cook real healthy meals, this is a game changer. Their 100% grass-fed beef, pasture-raised chicken and pork, and wild-caught seafood are all delivered straight to your door, so you always have something fresh to defrost and cook without a ton of hassle. And the best part? It's affordable. They cut out the middleman so that you get top-quality meat at the lowest prices. So if you want to eat better without making life harder, check out Wild Pastures. Go to kateanthony.com/wildpastures for $20 off your first subscription. Are you feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or unsure about your next step in the divorce process? You don't have to do this alone, my love. If you're listening to this podcast, you already know that I am a pioneer in the divorce coaching industry, and that for over a decade, I've helped hundreds of women navigate some of the toughest decisions of their lives. Until recently, I only worked with clients in a long-term private capacity. But I know that not everyone needs or has the ability to commit to long-term coaching. Sometimes you just need clear, focused strategies to move forward. That's why I now offer targeted 3-session strategy packages designed to give you the clarity, direction, and confidence you need without the long-term commitment. Whether you're deciding whether to stay or go, uncovering and healing from abuse, or dealing with a high-conflict divorce, I will help you create a clear roadmap, develop a plan to work with your attorney, saving you time and money, and help you navigate difficult conversations with ease. All coaching is done on Zoom, so no matter where you are, we can work together. No consultation call is needed. Just fill out a quick questionnaire and I'll get you all set up. Head on over to kateanthony.com/strategy and take the first step toward a stronger, more empowered future today. That's kateanthony.com/strategy. And I'll talk to you soon.
And then the final rule is treat the process of online dating or dating in general, really, as a job search, not a takeout order. So like if you were going to search for a professional job, you would get your resume exactly how you wanted it. You'd send it to targeted places. You'd write cover letters. You'd research the companies you're considering going to work for. And you would accept that it might take a long time.
Right.
But you would also accept that like I can be job searching and then like I still have the rest of my life over here. Like job searching is one element of my life, but it's kind of on the back burner because I'm doing all these other things. Whereas if you're ordering from Uber Eats, like you want Taco Bell in 10 minutes, right?
Right.
And the apps are set up to give you this feeling of immediacy, like of order and delivery. This is what I want. I want it to show up now. Men are far more guilty of this than women. They want to use the apps as like sex ordering services, right?
That's right.
But, to further extend that analogy, like how good do you really feel after gorging yourself on Uber Eats Taco Bell? Right?
Not so good.
Right. I mean, we've all done it, but like we don't want to do it over and over.
Right. Right. And so, I guess, the thing that you just said, right, is that men are so guilty of this. This is where, to me, like I always come up against like this is such an effort in futility, right? Like,
Yeah, I know. Yes, it feels that
because
way.
I am a cis hetero woman looking for a cis hetero monogamous man who's not 75. And as a 54-year-old woman, most of the men in my age bracket, they don't want to be dating 54-year-old
No,
women.
they don't.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it
Yeah.
all feels like, and I guess we just come right back to it. It feels like looking for a needle in a haystack, right? Like, but you
It
also have,
does.
like, is there a needle? Is what I'm
But
always
there
thinking.
are, like, that's what we're finding out is that there are needles.
Yes. Okay.
But what I hear over and over again, and I post these stories in the Facebook group all the time because people send them to me, is women saying things like, I blocked literally thousands of men.
Right.
I went through days where there was no one in my haystack, which actually is not bad because then, like, when I was on the apps, I was like, great, I burned them all away. Now I can move on to other things. You have to kind of like change the way you think about it. Like, look at it like a work task. Like, we all love to get emails out of our inbox, right? It's the same thing. But you just have to kind of accept that, like, you do the process and you trust the process, and it might take a while.
Mm-hmm.
And you're definitely going to go out on far fewer dates with this method. And you're not going to be talking to men all day and all night long. But the energy that you do channel into it has a much higher chance of turning into a partnership. And women are meeting, I mean, women our age and much older are meeting great guys all the time.
It's so, it's so interesting to me because I also finish sometimes. I mean, in the past, I haven't been on for so long, but when I used to do it, I would finish the app. They would be there are no more matches for, in your filter. And I'm like,
what region of the country are you in?
I'm in LA.
Wow. That even happens in LA?
Oh yeah. Because my parameters and my filters and my, like, if you say in your profile that you like to laugh and you're looking for a partner in crime, bye. Right. No, know. So I mean, and also I'm sober. So this makes it even more, if their profile pictures are full of booze, like that's a no for me. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm me.
Yeah,
so
I hear all of this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You talked about critical discourse analysis. Can you, what is that? And can you break that down?
So it's a narrow branch of applied rhetoric. It's basically a formalized method of rhetorical analysis that has two key components. The first is that it's really good at illuminating what people are revealing when they don't intend to. Mm-hmm. That's why it's so useful on the dating apps.
Right.
Because people are telling you all kinds of information about themselves that they have no intention of revealing. And once you learn how to read for these patterns, it lights up off the page or the app or whatever. Like, you see it immediately. You start getting really good at intuitively decoding.
Yes.
So the other sort of mandate of so there's a field of study called discourse analysis, which is purely analytical, and that might be an ethnographic study. Like, let's say I'm going to go embed myself in a culture in another part of the world and just, like, take detailed notes on how these people communicate, what their norms are, what their customs are. Once you add the critical element, you're coming in and making judgments, and you're also trying to use the information you have to improve some situation, to make the world a better place, or in this case, to get a better result on the dating apps. So that's why, like, to me, it's the perfect methodology for navigating a dating app because of what it's capable of doing, if you really understand it. And I know it sounds like I'm like rhetorical analysis, critical discourse analysis. I teach this stuff to freshmen. They're 18 years old and they become wizards at it. Yeah. Right. And women on Facebook and Instagram all the time, they're like, what's the CDA on this? It becomes, here's a big secret about Burned Haystack. There's nothing, I'm not teaching anybody anything they don't already know on some level.
That's right.
I'm just giving the words and the images and the explanations to make it legitimate.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I always look at photo backgrounds, for example.
Yeah, because if there's a Confederate flag in his background, right? Then we're
Jesus
not here.
Christ, right?
Yeah.
Or you
Right.
like, yeah, exactly. Or
Yeah.
I don't even know, like, like gross,
Yeah.
like, I mean, I've seen like people take mirror selfies and then you see like the top of the dresser and you're like,
Oh, yeah.
Ew.
We had one a couple weeks ago, and the guy, this is material rhetoric, by the way. The guy it was the dreaded bathroom mirror selfie, and the bathroom was filthy. And in the background, the toilet lid was up and the squatty potty, that little stool that lifted.
Right. Yes, right.
Which, like, no shade to the squatty potty. You don't want it in your dating app.
You don't want it in your dating profile. Come on now. That's disgusting. Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. So there's these things that we inherently know. These things that like, oh, if we actually knew to look for them, we would see them immediately.
Right.
Kinds of things. Yeah. There's something that I've heard you talk about, the test and apologize method. Can you talk about what that is?
Yeah. I mean, we've got over 50 some rhetorical patterns identified. That one's probably in the top 5. And the way it looks is a man will, and this usually happens in early messaging, a man will throw out like a sexual comment real early on. And then before she even has a chance to respond, or before she's even seen the message, he'll message again immediately and go, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. That was completely inappropriate. I'm really excited about meeting you and I'll behave better or whatever. And we've seen it in so many different iterations.
That's right.
But the important thing here is that the test is real and the apology is not.
That's right.
The test is like to figure out, what can I get away with? What's she going to allow here? The apology just builds in this like plausible deniability. So he can be like, I really am a good guy. I was just having a really bad moment. That's right. Yeah.
And listen, any victim of any form of domestic abuse can apply this rhetorical pattern to your own life.
The boundary violation right out of the gate.
That's right. If he hit you, right, and then he apologizes, the violence is real. The apology is not.
And it also doesn't erase the violence.
It does not erase the violence. That's right.
That still happens.
If he calls you a bitch, if he's like whatever it is, right, that's the reality. The apology is, oops, I crossed over. We always say that in domestic abuse, right? People, they're constantly testing the boundary, and they are constantly crossing it, and then, oh, nope, that was too far. Okay, I can come back down to here. But every time they do that, our tolerance threshold increases.
Yep, exactly. So the idea here is you catch it and you block it before that has a chance to escalate at all into your life, your psyche, and your family. Like when you're in a dating app, especially if you have children in your home still, like there's I don't want to do the thing where I'm like, yeah, because you're a mother, you're more important. I'm not saying that at all. I want you to be protected regardless of scenarios. But I'm just saying, with every element you add, there's an additional like kind of high stakes reason to pay close attention.
That's right. We don't want to endanger women, but we also, as mothers, we want to protect our children.
Right.
And that's pretty real. And often, as I say all the time, we are more willing to protect our children than we are ourselves. And if that ends up protecting ourselves, then great.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. That was a better way of saying what I was trying to say. Thank you.
What are some of the other rhetorical patterns that you see? You said you have like a list of 50. We don't have to go through all of them, obviously.
Yeah. We have one called "Are You My Mother?" where the guys are like, they either like go on and on about how their own mother was their hero because she sacrificed everything to give up her own life for them, which sounds really nice until you realize that's what they're going to want you to do. Mm-hmm. Or they're looking for someone to make them be a better version of themselves, or whatever it might be. Like they're actually looking for something, like a maid or a housekeeper or a therapist. So we've got "Are You My Mother?" We have one titled "Where Were You on January 6th?" And that's a specific kind of rhetoric that, they're like going off on their, right in their profile about anti-vaxxing or.
Oh God.
conspiracy theories. There's a lot of conspiracy theorists on the dating app beyond a certain age. I think this is probably less of a problem with younger men, but with middle-aged men, it's a real big, serious problem.
Ugh.
It's just right. I was working on this section of the book yesterday, and I was looking at an example of that rhetorical pattern. Where were you on January 6th? And the guy was going on about defending his loved ones from outside forces by whatever means necessary. And like, this was a suburban guy.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I don't think your life is really quite that exciting.
This is a guy who straps on an AK-47 to go to Walmart. Like,
exactly.
Who's after you?
Right. And then drives home to the cul-de-sac, right? Like,
right. Who's coming for you, dude?
Right.
Don't tread on me. Okay.
Right. And that's always the guys who are like, but no drama.
But no drama. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I love
we
them.
We have one called Six Flags or Red Flags. The guy who it's not just that they like amusement parks, it's that they kind of think they are one. Like, you get the idea that life with them would constantly be about summiting Mount Everest without supplemental oxygen.
Oh, so exhausting. Well, that's a big LA thing too. That's a big LA thing. Everybody, one of my favorite profiles, a guy that I dated for very briefly, but it was like, I wanted to marry him based on, he said, some of you guys are so exhausting. Can we just stay home and watch TV? And I was like, I love you and I will marry you. Because in LA, they're playing beach volleyball on the weekends. They're hiking this, they're doing that. They're hiking, biking. And it's like, Jesus Christ, I'm tired.
Well, and that can't even be real, right? Like, do these people not have jobs? It's the same people that it appears they spend 90% of their time in a gym. Like, you wouldn't even want to date that.
Right. I always say, like, I go to the gym and I work out, but it's also like one of the least interesting things about me. So if that is what if like your whole profile is about your exercise and you're in the gym, like that's what you're putting forward first and foremost. And you think that is the most interesting thing about you. Yikes.
Right. Yeah.
And again, I live in LA, so for many, it is.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. And the rhetorical patterns, they kind of tend to fall into like either like annoying, dysfunctional, or maybe downright dangerous, which test and apologize. That's a dangerous one. Like, you're dealing with a toxic person. Another one that we see all the time is called disciplinary directive male profile. And it's like, I know that I'm a high value man, not willing to compromise. You're not a generous, fit, fun, and it like they use their own profile to kind of like lay down the law with these women that they haven't even met yet. This is shockingly common. Like, I have examples of all of these, but that file has probably more pictures in it than any other one. And like the examples I just gave off the top of my head, those are mild. Like, the things that these guys will write into their profiles are like so precise and defensive and aggressive and violent that, number one, like one of my favorite ones is the guys who like brag about the fact that they're not going to hit you as long as like you behave right.
Wait, what?
I will never hit you. That's one of the rhetorical patterns.
Yeah.
Which that means they're going to hit you, or they're going to get off on a technicality because they only shoved you. Like, that's not a normal thing to say.
They're going to abuse you in all the other ways, but they're never going to cross that line.
Right.
That's right. That's what that says to me. Ugh. Yeah. I love the ones that are also like, I only want a high value woman who this. Yes. And then he is, you have to be fit and beautiful and blah, 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 blah. And he is, that meme that's like, what do you bring, what do you bring to the table? And then it's like, the table is like this jacked up thing. It's like, and all of his selfies are from below, and he lives in his mother's basement, and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The guy's like screaming about gold diggers when it's pretty clear they don't have any gold for you to dig.
Right. Exactly. So are there any other rhetorical patterns that are really common?
I mean, there's a bunch. I was trying to think like the ones that we see over and over again. And I think I've named a lot of those. They are all, if you go to word case scenario on Instagram, there's a highlight called rhetorical patterns.
Oh, good. Yeah.
All collected there. There's a reel for each one of them.
I love it.
Oh, the cuddle bears. This is an interesting. So there's a lot of guys. I think this is what happened. Somebody told them that women don't like it when they talk about sex in their profiles. So they coded that to talk about a lot of how they want to cuddle and snuggle. And women keep asking me, why does that give me the ick? And I think the answer is that because those are words that we associate with like babies and children and little puppies, not with like strange men on the internet.
Yeah.
I don't want to snuggle with Greg from Hinge. Like, I don't even know who he is.
I don't know him. Also, the first thing that I think when I think of cuddling with a man is a boner in my back, because most men will, like, they're not there for the cuddle.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like when they offer to give you a massage, which now they've started offering massages with no strings attached, which does not make it less creepy.
At all.
At all. Right. Yeah. Like, come over to my place for a massage. No strings attached, except I might murder you while you're there.
Well,
like it's terrifying.
Ew, gross. Yeah. You know, the other thing I think that it might be a rhetorical pattern. I don't know if it's on your list, but is love languages, physical touch as a love language, right? Because, you know, look, love languages, love them, hate them, dive into the problematic function of them, all of that stuff. But every single man's
I wrote
love
a
language
piece about that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right. It's always physical touch.
Always.
Because they don't mean holding your hand or you just like, stroking my back. They mean having sex.
Well, and why are you quoting this book that was published in like 1992 and has been debunked by the guy who wrote that has zero qualifications to write it.
That's right. That's right. I talk about it because I think I think the premise of giving love in the way that your partner, like understanding your partner.
Currency. What's your currency? Yeah.
Yeah. Like I like that aspect of it. Gary Chapman and all of the other problematic, right? All of that is not. But I do like the idea of let's get to know what actually matters to your partner and then love them in the way that actually matters to them.
But that's not how these guys look at it, right? No. They've got it reversed. They're like, the important thing here is what
my love language is. That's right.
Shocker is physical touch.
Right. Shockingly.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right. So this method, I mean, literally you kind of created this thing, right? And it was like this academic exploration for yourself and it kind of worked. And then you kind of expanded it and it's kind of taken over.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you, it's like, how many people are in your Facebook group right now?
In the Facebook group, 153,000 some, and then close to 70,000 on Instagram. And then I've got a couple Substacks. I'm a teacher. I didn't have any, I didn't promote any posts or any, I didn't have money.
you weren't out for internet fame, but
no, this was an organic,
but here you are. Have you seen it evolve in a way or have applications outside of dating? How has it evolved in that way?
Yeah. In so many surprising ways. I actually teach a course on Substack called Rhetoric in Real Life, where we take Burned Haystack methodology and apply it outside of dating, because I kept hearing over and over again, I'm using this with my family. I'm using it with my difficult boss. I'm using
Wait, we can block our family?
You absolutely can. Yeah. The big surprise for me is how many, and maybe the most important for me personally.
Yeah.
A lot of therapists, psychologists, and counselors are using Burned Haystack methodology in their professional practices, specifically with support groups for women coming out of abuse.
Yes.
And that, if there's one place, I don't know exactly where my career is going to go from here. I couldn't have predicted anything that's happened to me in the last year of my life. But if I could pick a direction to really focus on, from a personal values perspective, I think that would be it. I'm really interested in seeing how this methodology can be used in that particular application. Now, I'm not a psychologist or a therapist or a counselor, but there are professionals who are using it that way.
So, all right, Jennie, we could talk about this all day, but where can people find you and find out more about the Burned Haystack Method and all of your work, obviously, Instagram, Substack, all of the things. Yeah.
Okay, so the one place that you can get everywhere else from is my website, which is jennieyoung.com, JennieYoung.com. Facebook, you can search Burned Haystack and it'll find it, and you can join the group. You have to answer some entry questions, but you can join the private Facebook group. Instagram, word case scenario, like worst case, but WORD, and there's underscore between those things. There is a Burned Haystack Substack, and then there's also a Rhetoric in Real Life Substack. And I'm just recently, as of a week ago, on Blue Sky. You can search Burned Haystack there too.
Are you actually on it?
I mean, I try to remember to check it. I have a few posts, and I do I like what's happening with Blue Sky. I'm overcommitted right now.
That's right. That's right. You've got a lot going on. Jennie, thank you so much. This has been so enlightening. And I'm going to put it into, I've sort of dabbled in it, but not really committed to it. I'm going to commit to it. Yeah. I'll keep everybody abreast.
Let me know what happens.
Oh, I certainly will. All right, Jennie, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Kate.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Divorce Survival Guide podcast. If you like what you hear, head on over to Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen in and leave me a review. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at the Divorce Survival Guide. I'll see you next time, and until then, remember, you, my love, deserve to be happy.